My name is Adrian Nantchev, and this channel is all about helping you become a remarkable entrepreneur. So that's why you're on the podcast today. But I am joined with Florian, if that's how you pronounce your name.
That's correct.
But please, Florian, tell us, what is it you're doing, and what difference do you want to make in the world?
I am a memory coach, and I am teaching people how to use their amazing memory, because we all have an absolutely astonishing ability to memorize information, but no one has ever taught us how to do so. Particularly in school and university, this is a skill that is heavily required, but never taught or even talked about, that this is a thing that you can learn. I suffered a lot in school from not being able or efficiently able to memorize. And it has changed my life since I discovered these techniques after school, sadly too late. And this is why I want to make a difference to other people who are still in dire need of memory techniques, who are still going to school, who are still attending university, or even for work. I mean, everyone needs these techniques, even though most people don't really understand what they should do with them. But we have to learn our entire life, and particularly these days when technology is exponentially growing and it is very difficult to keep up, we can learn a lot. We have to learn a lot in order to survive and be a good entrepreneur, right? Having all the technology at hand that is available. So, for example, I'm now into cryptocurrencies, and this is how we met over Steemit, which is one of the many altcoins next to Bitcoin, with a free social media platform that actually pays you. And there's so much to learn. I mean, I'm doing this now for 6 weeks, and I feel overwhelmed with the information thrown towards me. And memory techniques are a great way to tackle that. My long-term vision is to make memory techniques available to everybody, basically for free. Because at the moment, when you want to learn these techniques and you don't want to research them all by yourself, it will get very expensive. My services, if you book me as a memory coach, they are not the cheapest. But I'm one of the most affordable memory coaches out there. So if you go to my colleagues, you pay $400, $500 an hour. And this cannot be. I think this is outrageous. I understand that this is the case now, and I don't blame my colleagues. But I think this is a human right, and we all should be able to learn these things for free as early as possible. And I want to make this happen with a non-profit organization in the future which dedicates its time and financial resources to send people like me to schools and universities and create programs, learning classes, and so on, work with teachers, work with the education system, and pay them via the NPO so that we can offer these services to the students for free.
So a memory coach. Now, well, one little strategy I know for memorizing things is to create a story that intertwines each of the key phrases. Like if you're trying to remember, 1 to 10, and each number has a random word, elephant and basketball, for example. You then try and picture them all in like a story intertwined together. So that's how you remember all those details. But no doubt that's a very basic way of memorizing things.
It's actually what you describe is already very fundamental. It's not that basic at all, because all you need to understand in terms of how the memory works is it's all about association. So you need to associate A with B, whereby A is the new information you are learning, and B is an old information that you have already stored in your long-term memory. It can be anything, an object, a person, a feeling, an action, an adjective, whatever you can imagine, visualize. And then you translate the A into something more memorable, because usually information is very abstract and not really suited in order to visualize it. So, for example, you have a rather abstract word, let's say accountant. It's not that bad. It's not that abstract. It's still a concrete object, even though it's meant for a person. Now you can imagine this accountant as being a guy in a suit with a suitcase, for example. It's a good image for an accountant. And then later you can, when you want to remember the word accountant, because, I don't know, let's say you memorized the French word for accountant, or it is part of a poem, or it is part of something that is relevant for your work. Then you will trigger the information by thinking about your story, thinking about the guy in a suit with a suitcase, and asking yourself, okay, what did the guy in the suit and the suitcase represent? What did it stand for? Oh yeah, okay, there was an accountant. Maybe it's not that easy for this particular image, but it's much better than just dealing with the word accountant itself. And you can do that for anything. It can be, like I mentioned, vocabulary for different languages. It can be vocabulary for your own languages. For example, in the USA, they have these tests when they go to university. Different kind of tests, usually labeled with 3-letter acronyms. And in these tests, they have to know hundreds of specific terminology words for, I wouldn't say for business. It's more general terms in order to speak on a higher level your own language. So that's very useful for that, but also for memorizing numbers. Let's say credit card information, PIN numbers, passwords, historical dates, birthdays, phone numbers. I know nowadays no one is memorizing a phone number anymore in the age of smartphones, but it's good to know at least your wife's phone number or your own phone number or whatsoever. Same thing goes, of course, for numbers that you use all the time. What I find quite interesting at the moment, since I'm so invested into cryptocurrencies, is you can actually memorize your password for Steemit, for example. It's a very long password, your private key, but you can do that, and it's not difficult at all. It will be quite a long story, but it is possible. Also, you can create a brain wallet for Bitcoin and have your entire Bitcoin fortune only in your brain and nowhere else. So basically what it means, I guess it's like a soft wallet that you don't store locally on your computer, but you only have it in your brain. And when you want to access your Bitcoins, you have, in order to be super secure, you disconnect your computer from the internet, you use a Linux operating system, boot it, then use a soft wallet where you can type in your private key, and then can make a transaction, and then go to the live computer and use those transaction details online in order to send them to the blockchain and make the transfer happen. So this is really interesting, very dangerous. Most people are afraid of that. You should never use that lightly and without care and so on, because the idea is to entirely memorize it. Don't write it down. Don't save it somewhere in your Evernote or whatsoever. You should just memorize it. In order to repeat it, in order to remember it, you have to repeat it over and over again throughout the next days and weeks in order to give your brain the ability to wrap protein around those freshly created connections of brain cells. This protein sheath then will stabilize the memory. It will keep it strong. It will keep it available when you need it, and you will not forget it. I mean, you can go and celebrate and have a night where you are drinking and taking substances or whatsoever, and then you don't remember anything. But on the next day, when you sobered up, everything will be there again. This is just how the brain works. But most people have no clue about that, so they don't give the idea of a brain wallet a chance. I also want to add to that point that if you do that, be aware that just having a brain wallet is not secure at all. It must be a secure password. So there is a system called SHA-256, which is encoding your hash key into words. And there's a website called brainwallet.io. And there you can just type in any words you like, but you shouldn't do that. You should randomize the words, because a bot can make a lot of brute force attacks on your Bitcoin account. And if you created those words by yourself, it is much more likely that it will be broken. And they can do billions of calculations per second. So that's very, very risky. Never use a passphrase that has only 4 words. It should have 12 words, which makes it secure. And maybe even on top of that, a layer that is called a SALT, S-A-L-T, which is basically another password which makes it even more secure, and also is a technique that will prevent brute force attacks because it's super slow to calculate. So brute force attacks cannot do a billion calculations per second. It's just not possible with the SALT. It's quite complicated. I wrote an article about that on Steemit if anyone is interested in that. This is just one of so many things you can use memory techniques for at the moment, the thing that I'm mostly interested in, because it's just such a fascinating topic to have. You technically can have billions of dollars in your brain and nowhere else. Another really interesting topic are names, because most people tend to forget names all the time. They are so bad at that they don't even give a new name a chance. So you get into a conversation, you meet a new person, you shake hands, and you don't even listen carefully what the other person's name is, because you have the attitude that you will forget it. And that's true. You will immediately forget the name if you don't carefully listen. So there's a whole strategy of just paying attention. You don't actually need crazy stories right away to remember the name. They are additional and will make it much more likely that you do remember the name. But just paying attention is already huge difference. And then, of course, beyond all that, whatever you want to study, lists of information, entire books if you want, it's possible to memorize them, not word by word. That would be crazy. That would be a lot of effort and it's not necessary, but keyword by keyword. So you break the information down into digestible bits that you can imagine, visualize, and connect with a memory system that you have at hand, like a memory palace where you go through familiar places, or a memory list where you have images for numbers, for example, and then you have image number 1, image number 2, image number 3, and then you connect it with, let's say, the periodic table of elements, so you know immediately which element is what.
Fascinating stuff. Brain wallet, I've never heard of that before. But speaking of like memory palace, your business you mentioned briefly earlier, Think Night. Tell me more about that, please.
Sure. So after basically working in memory techniques and memory coaching for over a decade, but always as a freelancer for a club of gifted children, or as a editor for my own website, memorysports.com, I wanted to create a proper business in that, because it is a big business. It's the education business is $1 billion business. The memory coaching business is a multi-million-dollar business around the world. And I know what I'm doing. I know a lot about these things. And I would even say that I'm on top of my field. So I paired up with Johannes Mahler, who's an old friend of mine. I met him at his very first competition in Berlin in 2004, and he became the world memory champion in 2012. And together we want to create high quality articles, online courses, software, you name it, everything about memory techniques in a way that is really going deep into the material and also looking very nicely. This is my personal thing. I'm also a web designer and designer. I didn't really study that, but I learned it myself. And I have an eye for something that is beautiful. So I want all my stuff always to look shiny and nice and really beautiful, because I always thought that this is a huge thing that is lacking in memory coaching so far, because most memory coaches have no clue about that. So I think I made a difference with what we created so far in our very first year. We founded Think Night pretty much a year ago. Yeah, and also the software that we create, I can't say much about it because it is still too early, and we are afraid that someone would take away our idea. But we basically have a pretty good idea about how to revolutionize education and learning with what we are doing. And there are other people who have apps out there who are incorporating memory techniques, but not in such an efficient way we are planning. And at the moment, we are writing our business plan for that in order to find investors who like our idea. And I'm sure people will like our idea. It is amazing. And I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to dreaming and big ideas. I always have huge, big ideas that are going far into the future. And I'm already planning things that are not really meant to be paired with our software. But since I'm now into cryptocurrency, I think I want to pair the idea that we already have with the chance for people to earn money while they learn with a cryptocurrency. I don't know if this is really making it into the final version. Probably not, because we are all still struggling just with the fundamental idea, which is already good enough in itself. But wouldn't it be great if you use an app that is improving your learning speed tenfold and more? Also the accuracy in the recall of the information, also the motivation you have using the app, because this is also a key part of it, is motivating the user to really go back and do more. And doing that, imagine how it would be if you're getting paid for that, like you're getting paid on Steam for writing a post. And I think it's possible because it's creating value if a user does that. It's creating value to the platform because the feedback of the system can then analyze what the user did, what memory technique he used, how well it worked, the percentages and everything, in order to give the next user a much better experience with the platform. So that is one value that the user would create. The other value would, of course, be the exact memory story that the user is coming up with. So when there is a vocabulary, English, Spanish, let's say casa, house, and then what does the user do? What image does the user use for casa? Does the user use kiss or case or whatsoever as a phonetically similar word to connect with the word casa, and then connect it with a house and make a story out of that? This will all be tracked and this will all be logged, and then later we can analyze that and learn a lot from that. So I think it's a great idea that could change the world. So I'm thinking big there. I'm thinking very big there. But the beginning is the hardest part, getting the money to build the prototype, and then with the prototype go to the investor and so on. This is all to be honest, it's not easy to be an entrepreneur, having all these great ideas and working with other people and having your company and so on. But the beginning is so tough. If you have little funds and if you have little experience, I have very little experience with entrepreneurship and business and marketing and all that. So for me, I'm the visionary. I'm bringing the ideas, and I am hoping that in my team, it's not just Johannes, but we have two more guys, friends of mine. One studied business, so I'm relying on his experience there to get started. Because what I'm telling you here, and this is just breadcrumbs of the actual plan. I didn't really get into the gist of it, but I mean, if you find a good way to monetize that, and I think there are so many ways to do that, using a cryptocurrency, for example, but doesn't have to be with cryptocurrency. Any investor who really get the idea will be happy to help us and invest into our project, because in the long run, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think. Imagine that. You know, a new kind of cryptocurrency that's based very similar to Steemit, but more aligned to the education. You know, imagine like a Steemit combined with Duolingo. You know, Duolingo is for language. Yeah,
yes.
Combine that, where I'm guessing the value derived is from the network or how correct the answers are, or you know the process, or the amount of people using it, and you know the different kind of people you can communicate with. But also, go back a little bit before that. You mentioned revolutionizing education. What do you think is wrong with the status quo right now, and why do you think it needs upheaving?
That's a very tough question, because there are so many things wrong with the education system. Well, first of all, they don't teach memory techniques, and that is outrageous, because these things are not new. They are thousands of years old, and they are not being incorporated into our education whatsoever, all around the world. And the argument often is it doesn't really work with school, but it's not true at all. It works very well with school. I have taught 5-year-olds these techniques, and they can use them very well for anything they like. The argument often is it's not about memory, it's about comprehending the information. But that is also not true. It's all about memory. We are being forced to memorize every day in school, and as long as that doesn't change, no one can argue that memory techniques will not be beneficial. Of course, the education itself is, depending on the country, often hundreds of years old. In Germany, for example, it's, I think, over 200 years old. And I think it's not very different in the United States. Not sure, where are you from, by the way?
Britain, Wolverhampton.
Right. So, over there also, I mean, UK is probably has even an older school system. I'm half British, by the way. My sisters are all going to British schools, and to me, when I look at what they are doing, it feels like they are in a different century. My oldest sister is going to, what is it called? Christ Hospital, I think. Her school, it's a very fancy boarding school, and she's going there for free because of her great notes. Grades, not notes.
I'm not familiar with that school.
And yeah, I'm not really. I mean, might be a good school, but it's very, 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 very conservative and everything. Also, the information we learn is not up to date, and we are lacking funds for technology in school, computers, and so on. I mean, it's getting better. Private schools are getting blackboards that are digital, like huge monitors and so on. So that's good, but I mean, public schools need sufficient funds to be up to date when it comes to technology. And I think stuff like programming, AI, internet, social media, and all these kind of things are super important to teach at school. Otherwise, people will be like zombies when it comes to these things. And we will all need these things in the future. I mean, we will need that in our age, but the young people need it even more, because in 15 years, automation has taken away millions of jobs around the world. And people just have to learn new skills. People have to switch from jobs where they are, which can be replaced with robots in the near future, to to service-based jobs, for example. And there's a lot to learn. And also when it comes to artificial intelligence and all these things, I think when people just know basic programming skills as early as possible, that will just completely shift their relationship to the 21st century technology age that we are facing. If they don't know that, then they will be in my shoes. They will sit there with great ideas, but they will always require a programmer for even very basic stuff that when you just invest a week of programming learning, you probably can do things that I could urgently need right now. So of course you can now argue, hey Florian, why not learning programming skills? I learn a lot of things and I don't have more than 24 hours. And Steam it alone is taking most of my time already. So yeah, I want to make it easier for the next generations. And now I ask you this. Imagine a world where all people all around the world, not just in the West, but particularly in Africa, in Latin America, and in Asia, where young people go through their education system, and when they are becoming teenagers, when they're 13 years old, they have already memorized and learned more stuff with much more fun and much higher self-esteem than the usual high school graduate now. Imagine what a world would look like where all these people have this great, free, amazing education in combination with, I don't want to go too deep into that now, so I don't want to give too many information about my plans, but in combination with the latest technology.
Yeah, that's all right. They're leapfrogging. So if they know more about this certain technology, they got the advantage over us. So tell me also, Florian, I'm just curious, what are you doing now? What are you working on now?
Right now, my company is developing an online course for numbers. We will teach the matrix system, which is the most famous system to memorize numbers, in a way, in a very beautiful and intense way that has never been done before. We updated the matrix system a little bit with our own code to make it even easier than it already was. We give all the information, training images, and so on, and we put that into a beautiful PowerPoint presentation, and that into a video. And instead of using our own ugly faces, we will use Adobe Character Animator to make a virtual puppet with our mascot Knight as the host of the video course. And then we will release it on Udemy and other platforms. I'm looking into Library at the moment, which is this fresh new cryptocurrency platform that is a mix of Udemy and YouTube, and Steam it, and will pay people in their own cryptocurrency called Library, LBRY. And other platforms. So it doesn't really matter what platform we use there, as long as we put the course out into the open. And it will be our very first big thing. At the moment, we only have 3 articles and a couple of commercial training images that you can purchase. So that will be our first thing. And then step by step, we will release more online courses with the same quality and the same animated mascot. And then we will see how that develops. Hopefully we will raise enough funds to do the prototype for our app and then find an investor. Because I think in the long run, the app and only the app that we are planning will have the greatest potential of everything we do, because it will be able to scale like nothing else.
Tell me more about this library you mentioned. I'm very curious about that. It's like a cryptocurrency version of Udemy. Tell me just a little bit more about that, like what the website is. I'm guessing library.io?
That is correct. Library.io is the URL, as if I remember correctly.
Ah.
By the way, I don't have a perfect memory. No memory coach or memory athlete has a perfect memory. It's like everyone always thinks, oh, you probably never forget anything. It's not true. I forget like everybody else. But if I really want to memorize something, I do, and I do remember it then. So anyhow, library, I stumbled upon it on my first Steemit days, and it was still closed beta by then. The open beta was just released 2 days ago, I think. So you can now download their software. It's basically an app for Windows and Mac and Linux that looks quite nice, a little bit like YouTube. And with your account, similar to Steemit, you have a wallet for your library coins, and you earn library by curating, but also by sharing your content. You can put up a price for your videos. So it's nice for a content creator like me. I can, just like with Udemy, I put my video courses on the platform. I give it a price. There is no middleman. I don't have to share 50% with Udemy. At the moment, the Udemy concept is, if the video is being found via the Udemy search, the video course creator gets 50%. If they come via my link from my website to the Udemy course, I get 97%. And if you send someone to my course as my affiliate partner, you will get 25%. I will get 25%, and Udemy will get 50%. So it's not a great system. It's good because I'm getting free traffic. They're doing Facebook ads and also for my content. So that's all great, but a decentralized platform where I completely control everything that is happening, that is much better. Also, especially in the early days when there is very little content on the platform, more people will just buy my course because it's available and it's on the platform. So I speculate that I will actually benefit from the early day status of library just by having my courses there as early as possible. And yeah, what else? Yeah, that's pretty much what I can tell you about it. They didn't have an ICO, an initial coin offering, which is kind of this thing that they do now in cryptocurrencies. It's kind of a shady practice sometimes because there's a lot of pump and dumps going on. They didn't have that. They silently developed their product, and I really like that. I couldn't test the software myself yet. I never was able to make it run. It's still in beta, so it's buggy and not perfect yet, so I can't really tell you about the experience of using it. But I'm very excited about the idea. There's a similar thing coming out for Steemit. It's called Viewly, view.ly, which is based on Steam. But I don't know if that is the same thing. I don't know if you can set up a price or everything is free and you just earn like on Steemit when you post a post. That's a nice idea. That's not really what I'm looking forward in that case. That would be more for free videos. But for paid video, I'm not sure if that is a possibility on Viewly. But there are a lot of things coming out for content creators like us, which is just amazing to help our cause. And even if it's not much in the beginning, I mean, we always have to count on the possibility that this actually might rise in value over time. So everything I'm earning on Steemit now, my Steam might be worth much more in 5 years. Same goes for library. So if you don't take it out and immediately exchange it into Bitcoin, but let's just let it, just hold it, just hodl it, like the cryptocurrency term they use, just hodl it. You might make a fortune with your content in the midterm. So it's also something I'm hoping for. But it's not really helpful right now for an upcoming business, of course. But on the other hand, I mean, what are 5 years, right? For the lifetime of your business. can make a huge difference if your funds that you are earning now will be worth 10 times more in 5 years.
Yeah, but also the way I see it is that Library and Viewly have potentially a lot of untapped awareness and a lot of untapped users and people that wouldn't, or people that might not discover you on Steemit or other platforms. So by simply being on this other platform, more people can discover you, more people can find you, and I think that ultimately is good extra sources of traffic for the website, especially if it's the same content you've got, same video, same course, same blog. You just take it and just apply it, send it, and submit it to other places. It's the same stuff. There's nothing, you can't really lose.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a very crucial point that you're saying there. You should always spread your content, your product from a entrepreneur's point of view as much as possible. So, for example, right now my business is just getting started. We don't have much funds. I can't really live from it yet. So I'm using Steemit to get a nice income at the site. But the last weeks I relate too much on Steemit, I think, and I have to diversify myself more in order to get a better scaling effect. So there are so many things you can do. For example, you can post on your Udemy and get free traffic. That Udemy posts, or Patreon. You can use Patreon, not necessarily to earn enough money to live from it on Patreon, but even if you get zero on Patreon, you still get free backlinks. And there are a lot of things you can do. There's actually an interesting 3-part series from Jerry Benfield on Steemit. He's one of the most successful Steemers. He just joined 2 months ago, but he has already like 10K followers. And he's a very interesting person who is marketing like crazy. And he wrote 90 ways to make money online. It's a really interesting series to check out, because this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is diversifying what you do. And if you just get a little bit of traffic from all these sources within a year, you will make a huge difference. But if you only concentrate on one thing, if you only do your YouTube channel, if you only do your Steemit channel, then your chances of scaling will be limited. It might be good. I mean, you can reach millions of people on YouTube, but you can reach 10 millions of people when you have a successful YouTube channel and all these other sources of traffic.
Yeah, success truly begets success.
Yes, and also the effort that you put into. This is something that I saw on Steemit. You can say, "Oh yeah, I wanna earn easy money on Steemit," and I post a photo I took from my toenail every day, in the hope that you earn money with that, and then after a week you see, oh no, I'm just getting 1 cent on each of my posts. That's not bringing me anywhere, so you stop doing that. But that's not how it works. You have to do it continuously. So I'm doing it now for 6 weeks, and it's getting somewhere. It's still not great. But when I do this for 6 months, oh my God, that would be interesting. But when I do this for 6 years, with the change of price and value, that would be great. And if I do all my scaling things, I haven't really done that yet. I'm really bad with that. So I'm talking about things I basically don't understand anything about. But I'm planning to get into all of that. When you do all these things continuously and you just work hard and you have your plan, and every day a YouTube video, every day, just like you. I mean, I checked out what you're doing, and I mean, you're really going crazy right now with all the videos that you're doing, and it's a lot of work. But it will pay off. I'm sure it will pay off, and I'm sure your views will skyrocket if you are patient. You have to be patient. That's the most difficult thing, particularly for me. I'm a very impatient person. But if you are patient and you put in the hard work and you put it into different areas, it will start to scale very quickly. And then you will reach a point where it starts to become exponential. And this is the point where you want to reach. And everyone can reach that. Everyone. I mean, you don't even have to be very talented, but just the consistent work will bring you there. I mean, no offense to PewDiePie, the most successful YouTuber, but his content is not really what I understand of great value at all. But he's doing the hard work. He's doing that for years and years and years, and this is what makes him so successful now. And this is great, and I respect that a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm about to kick up my content to the next level of crazy. So if you thought it was heavy right now, in probably the next few days, by the time this is uploaded, it's going to get an extra gear craziness, doing one extra thing. It's just about hitting that tipping point, and I think when you create evergreen content, especially, it can get discovered much further down the line, much later on. And when you let's say you work on ideally 2 social media platforms at the same time, 3 and it tends to get a bit too much. You tend to get too spread out, but 2 tend to work in conjunction. I think YouTube is good for generally good SEO and the second largest search engine. And Steam it, I find, although the platform is only about 200,000 people or 250 by now, it has a lot of potential for engagement and connectivity, because unlike Reddit, it's massively oversaturated and it's very convoluted. But Steam it is very new, and I only started about roughly 6 weeks ago as well, or something like that, June, I can't remember when exactly, probably mid-June, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I'm starting to see successes on there as well. 120 or so followers, nothing, but I noticed that going from 100 to 120 took less time than going from 80 to 100. And that will happen on everything. It will happen on YouTube, happen on every platform as well. So I think you just got to keep going, keep batting down on big content, evergreen content that people like. Although
I have to hold your horses there, I made the same discovery in terms of how quickly you can gain followers, but you can also not gain any followers whatsoever over the course of days, because it heavily depends on how active you are and also the quality of your content. So if I post a low quality article, or I have a series of memory articles which are very high quality, but if you have read a couple of them, they tend to look a little bit repetitive. So I get why my followership has not skyrocketed yet. I'm at 650 or something. I'm very happy about that. But it has slowed down the last 2 weeks due to several reasons. Not being as active as I was before, not having as diverse posts as it might be useful, and having kind of repetitive series. These all are factors that are not helpful. And I think probably the same goes for all content on every platform. So on YouTube as well. If you just producing videos doesn't necessarily mean that you will get a lot of followers. You also have to have something that makes you unique, something that makes you interesting. It doesn't have to be a great quality video or something. But people have to get the feeling of, oh yeah, this is a guy I want to follow. I have this, for example, with a guy called AVI LSD. He's very successful on Steemit and has a slightly successful YouTube channel. 20k followers, a little bit more, and he was right. He was basically just talking about everything, especially darknet, and he cannot market his YouTube channel when he's talking about darknet because of all these censorship that is going on with YouTube marketing at the moment since half a year ago or something, when big corporations started to say, no, we don't do that. There was this huge thing on YouTube, and money is going down for a lot of corporations.
The Adpocalypse, it was called, in March.
Exactly. And now he started a new channel where he's exclusively talking about cryptocurrency, and he will not even mention the topic of his other channel because he knows exactly that this will create repercussions for him. And why I like him so much is not the quality of his videos. It's just screencast from his room. You see his furniture in the back. It's not professional whatsoever. but I value his opinion. He's funny. He is a smart mouth. He says things other people wouldn't dare to say in a YouTube video, and this makes him unique, and this is why I like him. It's just an example of how you can get out of the masses. And he is super successful with his new channel. He got 2.5K subscribers within days. He has over 100 people following his live stream videos after such a short time with his new channel, and this just shows a huge potential for him. And I mentioned this because I'm planning something like that myself. I don't want to copy him, but I also want to talk about cryptocurrency and Steemit and everything. And I still try to figure out what should I do and how could I make a difference. My approach is using this Adobe character animation Puppet, but I didn't really get to a point that I'm happy about it so that I can post it every day. It's kind of time intense, and what I want to do is find a way to make something I'm happy with, which costs the least amount of time so I can post every day. Because I think it's key, you must post every day, or you have such a high quality content that you can allow yourself to say, just once a week or once a month. There are plenty of YouTube channels out there where you say, yeah, they have millions of views on their videos, but they just post once a month because their video costs 600 hours to make. And I don't want that.
I say both, just go scale as much as possible on the quality. Scale as much as possible on the quality. They're both are needed.
Totally.
So it's just
totally.
scale as much as you can.
But it's just too much effort for me because I have so many other things on my plate that I can't just do the quality content as much as I like, because I'm also very how do you say in English, I really want to make it perfectionist, and that is not good. That is not good for these kinds of things you want to do. I mean, you will make good quality things, but it can also slow you down and entirely stop you from being successful. So I rather want to start with low quality videos, where low quality doesn't necessarily mean that it's not worth your time. It's still worth your time, but I invest much less time into the video itself and rather do quantity, and then over time gain the skill and experience to invest more into higher quality videos then.
Well, that's all right. I'd just say both and scale as much as you can, depending on your constraints. But speaking of time, Florian, we really should wrap this up.
Right.
So, what is the best way for the audience to get in touch with you?
They can either contact me via email, florian.dellé@thinknight.com. You can also use my websites, thinknight.com and memorysports.com, where you have contact fields to write me a message. You can use Steemit, where I am writing under the name @Flauwy, FLAUWY. Although Steemit is not really great for communication, since you only have comments to talk with other people, but you can do that. I read all the comments. I always answer all of them. And on Facebook, you can add me on Facebook. Write me a message. I hope I see that, because if you're not a friend of mine, these messages tend to be hidden. Drop me a friend request. I don't answer all friend requests, because I get a lot through my Memory Sports website. But these are ways to contact me. Usually it's easy to get me on the line.
That's all right. There's plenty of choices there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, click on the subscribe button below and press the bell notification right next to it for the latest uploads. How cool is that?